This meeting is now being recorded.
Okay, so we have our questions for Valerie.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one that's in is, can you ask Valerie for me tips about beating cravings, especially when feeling depressed, and how to stop yourself going on a binge? I think this cravings relates to not only alcohol but food as well.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, that from what I can see there, it looks like it's alcohol and food.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about cravings is that we think, that they're very strong and powerful, and they're not. Honest to God, they're like weak waves. And cravings, when you have alcohol in your system, right, it takes about, would say per unit, would say if you drank a bottle of wine, or if you had a big bar of chocolate, okay? Now, there'd be a lot of sugar, it's about the addictive hooks that's in the substances. For alcohol, it's the ethyl or the ethanol and that, and for the chocolate, it would be probably the sugar that's more addictive than the actual cocoa. So when you have something, you will physically crave more. When it starts to leave your body, when the sugar levels start to come down, and as well as that, when the alcohol starts to come down and you're starting to sober up, or the effects of the chocolate have worn or wearing off, you'll crave a little bit more. Unless, of course, you've sickened yourself with chocolate, But you'll crave a little bit more. That's why, after 20 minutes, if you're sitting over a pint for 20 minutes, that if you drink it, after 20 minutes, you go, oh, my God, I could do with another one, and your body starts getting thirsty. And you start to get physical symptoms of cravings. You might get thirsty, or in the case of food and stuff like that, you might think you're hungry, and very often you're just thirsty, but you might think you're hungry. Now, they're physical cravings, okay? And the difference between that and the other type of cravings is all in your head, because the other side of cravings is, if you have no alcohol in your bloodstream, or if you haven't had junk food, would say like in large quantities, if you haven't been gorging on chocolates or chips or, whatever your drug of choice might be with food as well, if you don't have that in your system, then you cannot physically crave them. They're gone. Everything after that is just in your head.
Okay,
but they're the hard ones. Yeah, they're the hard ones, because
the stomach is gone.
Yeah.
But the monster in the head is still there.
Yeah, because they're emotional then. And what you're doing is, cravings and your subconscious habits are very connected as well. We'd say on a Friday evening, you always go to town after work and you pull into SuperValu and you get a pizza and a bottle of wine every Friday evening. So if you're on your way home from work, you've been really good all week, you haven't had a drink, you haven't had any pizza or any junk food, your memories will trigger an emotional craving and you'll think you want it because it's just habit. So, everybody will have their own ways of beating cravings, but some of the things to do, I know one thing that I done was, which would help me in the long term to beat cravings, was move furniture around. And I don't know whether I've mentioned this to you before, guys. When I was giving up the cigarettes, I would always, how we're on autopilot in the morning. You get out of bed, you go for a pee, you come back, you get dressed a certain way, you go downstairs, and we all do the same thing. And even if you watch yourself, you will touch the same things and you will do the exact same things every morning. You know, it's like, do you come in the kitchen and straight to the kettle? Or do you come in and, like, for me...
Sort of toilet.
Yeah, it could be for me, like, I come downstairs, go straight into my office, knock on the computer, then into the kitchen. So and then straight to the bloody kettle, you know. And what you can do is try and break that habit. Would say if you were trying to give up coffee, I mean, for me, I wouldn't even go there. I don't think I'll ever try and give up coffee. Why? You know, I'd end up getting divorced. So,
coffee. I thought you said coffee. What? Did I miss a line?
No, coffee. If I tried to give up coffee now, it would be definitely the divorce courts for us. But yeah, you can try that. So if you do things at a certain time, I'd say if you're, you know, whoever it is that's having the craving, like if it's for sweets, like do you leave the house and go and pick up the kids at 3:00, but you always stop at the shop for a bar? You know, maybe find a way of changing that, and you see, that's the hard thing about cravings, and that's the hard thing about habits, is they're, God forgive me, bleeper, fucking hard to do. It's hard to change habits because your habits are your subconscious, and, you know, it's your paradigm, it's what you have learned from the day you were born, because you've watched your parents do it, and, you know, then you've done it for a number of years. And it can be hard, especially first thing in the morning when you're half asleep and, you know, you come downstairs and you have your coffee made and half drank before you realise, oh, Jesus, I'm supposed to be off the sugar, and I'm after putting 2 sugars in my coffee. Do you know what I mean? That kind of a way. So,
but to kind of bring it, so what you're saying is to bring it more to the, you know, bring it to the forefront rather than letting it sit in the conscious. Yeah, because it's all really about habits and triggers, because everything is like always interconnected. The likes of me now, when I was drinking, okay, the weird story, but every time I brought the kids to the dentist, I would come home with drink or come home drunk. How weird is that? Now, it all goes back to even way, way before I started drinking abusively, that when I was living in Castlebar and I would have been, you know, just left home and stuff like that, I went to get a filling in my tooth, and it was my first time away from my parents, and because normally my mother would bring me or dad would bring me and all that kind of stuff. And I was responsible for myself. I was 17 years old, and off I went to the dentist. But I had been out with my friends on the Sunday night, right? We'd been out for drinks. Yes, I was drinking at 17. But we'd been out for drinks, and when I got to the dentist, I was like slightly hungover. I was 17 and I had been drinking alcohol the night before. And he put the gas mask on. That was when we used to have the gas mask, and I put the gas mask on me. And it knocked me out. So I slept right through my filling, you know. And when I left there, I was like, oh my God, that's so good. So whenever I had to go to the dentist, I would always go out the night before or find some way of having a few drinks. So then when I went to the dentist then, as soon as they'd put the mask on me or whatever, I would be more out of it. And even when I started bringing my kids to the dentist, I had some association with alcohol. How strange is that? So I would send the kids in, they'd be in the dentist's chair, which would give me an opportunity to shoot out the door, drive quickly up to the shop, buy whatever bottle I was going to buy, hide it in the boot of the car, and I'd hide it, you know, the spare tire goes, and put it down in there. I used to. Yeah.
Back down and back into the waiting room,
because it was an opportunity. It was an opportunity for me to be able to buy a drink as well without being caught. And, you know, what a weird habit. But this is what I'm trying to say. We don't realise we have these habits half the time. We can't figure out, well, where the hell did I learn that? Or how did I know that? Or, you know, and sometimes I think when you have to start looking at triggers, like I can go to the dentist now without having to have alcohol, but because they don't use gas anymore anyway, do they? You know, but
I don't think they're allowed.
Are they not allowed? Is it?
No, there was a legal case, but yeah, as far as I'm aware, they're not allowed.
Oh, that's a shame.
Because people were, it was actually people were taking it and moving it into the drug industry somehow.
Oh.
And it was being used. It was being used to make drugs.
Wow.
They were making it into. They were taking the liquid from it and adding it to drugs.
Yeah. That could be quite.
So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can I?
But yeah, that's what I would say about cravings and that. If it's not in your system, it's a you know, a mental health craving. It's a compulsion. You know, it's all in your head. But then you have that difficulty of, well, I can't just wash it out of my head, you know, because you have all them habits, you have all that, all them memories, and all them good feelings that you know you get from eating chocolate, you know, because it gets the endorphins going and it makes you feel good. Or it's the same with a glass of wine, and you will crave it because you'll want it.
Yeah.
So that's why cravings can be super annoying.
Okay. I have an actual bunch of questions as well. So I'm just gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go to the next one, and I'm just reading it. The way I'm reading questions is exactly as they were sent to me.
Yeah.
So the next one is, okay, how do you handle a dry drunk? My father is recovering, but still has a lot of the characteristics of someone who's still on it. My therapist is helping me with ways of handling, but I'd love Val's opinion. He's back in a sense, but the underlying lying prick is still there.
Yeah. It sounds like somebody might be angry about having to give up the alcohol. I'm wondering whether her father would have had to give it up for physical reasons or something like that.
I don't know that.
I would wonder also, you know, it sounds like he could have been a long time drinker, because the dry drunk is usually, you know, so many, I'm trying to think of the word, so many issues going on. And I suppose one thing that's important to note is, I suppose, number one, to see if there's any kind of good psychotherapist that he might go to. But number two is to remember that when a person starts abusing alcohol, now he might have been young, he might have been in his 20s or 30s, you know. Yeah. When you start abusing, because there's a big difference between someone who's a heavy drinker and somebody who abuses alcohol. And when you start abusing alcohol, you stop growing emotionally. You don't feel or experience the same things as so-called, in inverted commas, normal people experience. So with saying, if she was growing up in that home where dad is an alcohol abuser, mom is probably trying her best just to get the kids reared, and probably doing her very best just to kind of keep a quiet house, as quiet as she can or as good as she can. And we'd say granny dies, okay, which happens, and it's his mom, okay. So you know how, like, if your grandparent dies or something happens like that, you feel pain, you feel sorrow, you feel remorse, because it's always like, why we should spend more time. And you could have been living, you could have been like their Siamese twin, and you'd still feel guilty about not spending enough time, because that's normal. And all them kind of things. Whereas the alcohol abuser tends to be, they will show maybe the symptoms. They might cry or something like that. But you can't. But the alcohol abuser usually doesn't tend to learn from the experience. And what I mean by that is, like, when we go through the stages of grief, different things happen to us. And like, I'm not talking about alcohol abuse, I'm talking about other people. Different things happen to us. We'll go through different levels of emotions, different levels of pain, and then we'll come out the other side. And we'll have learned something from the whole experience. And that's usually something like, life is for the living, and, appreciate your older family while you have them, and things like that. But for the alcohol abuser, it's different. Because it's very hard to feel and learn from, and it's not so much the feeling, but when you're numbed up with alcohol, and then you probably have a mental health issue thrown in there, you don't learn from experiences. Now, he might be spouting words that he'll have heard, life is for the living, and enjoy them way, but it's very hard to actually feel it. Everybody can walk the walk, but can we talk the talk? So whenever I look at dry drunks, and whenever I hear about people who are saying, well, he's still a fucking asshole, and actually he's worse, because now he's in the fucking house all day, I would say what you're dealing with there is a stubborn teenager or an idiot fucking kid, that, and she may look at him and think, oh my God, he's like a bloody cocky teenage boy, with all these God-given rights. I've stopped drinking now, let you all worship me. It's kind of like, because the dry drunk, or the person who has abused alcohol for a long time, would never have learned from emotional experiences. And it really is a stunting. Alcohol does stunt your emotional growth. But that doesn't mean if you go off to a wedding and you're drinking for 30 days, your emotional growth is stunted. What I'm talking about is long-term drinking over 5, 10, 15, 20 years, where incidences have happened. Because that's what happens to us. We have experiences in our life. We fall in love. We fall out of love. We have children. We lose people. Friends come and go. All these things that happen to us are all attached to our emotions, and we feel them. And we feel, some people are very deep feeling, others not so much. But that doesn't matter. We all learn from our experiences. But the problem drinker, the long-term, drinker like that wouldn't have. It would be education. I call it education from the bar stool. That's where you pick up all your lingo. That's where you pick up all your bits and pieces, and you just act around people like that. And it might be no harm for her father to, start looking at maybe hanging around with, a new circle of friends, maybe friends who never drank, or finding new friends, getting involved in another group. I don't know whether he goes to AA or not, but when you go to AA, you can feed off each other's negativity. You can feed off each other's nastiness. And it's like, I have seen people in AA think that they have some kind of, that they're some kind of magical force because they managed to stop drinking. It doesn't make you special. It doesn't make you brilliant. You quit drink. Yeah, You quit the drink. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There's brain surgeons. You know, they're wonderful. You know, people can quit drink. It happens every day. So, like, it's a good achievement. But, I mean, you can't keep walking around like you're fucking God because you managed to quit the drink and be an asshole. But I'm not saying that you should succumb and be beaten for the rest of your life because you had a drink problem either. But, like, I tell you what, if you're still an asshole to your wife and Kate, you know, you really need to address that. Or somebody needs to say something to you. But you know, the thing with a dry drunk is that they're still in their head, not mature. You know, they've no experience, and you know, they can come across as really fucking narcissistic. You know. Proper dickhead. God forgive me, sorry, now for a minute. No, but I hope that helps a little bit. But definitely it's emotional immaturity. You know, there would be a lot there. You know, so I hope that helps a bit.
I'm sure that it will. It's even given me a thought myself, you know, about that, because obviously, you know, my own father, my own father is a recovering alcoholic. Although it wasn't my question, it did help me. There's another one from another group member, and this one was a big one. We were having a chat amongst the administration team, and when this one kind of came up, this question came up, I think a lot of people jumped in on it. The question is, how can you forgive a parent for choosing alcohol over their child?
That would be a question that my daughter Louise, I think, would be really good at answering. And I think actually she said something to me yesterday about might being able to come on next Thursday for you. But she has forgiven me. I'm trying to think now, how would she explain this? I'm trying to bring us back to when we have family days here and we have families. I suppose what Louise says about me is that, because you see, every family is different, every parent is different, every reason why they chose alcohol is different. And for me and my kids, like, they knew me, the older ones anyway, knew me before I started abusing alcohol. And that was the only thing I think that really saved our relationship, was that they knew that there was something wrong, but they couldn't quite figure it out. Now, when we have fought, I'm telling you, you know, anybody that's grown up in a house where there's alcohol abuse knows the reality. It's not an argument over the dinner table. The reality of alcohol abuse is physical, mental, you know, violent, abusive stuff that you think to yourself, I don't care if she ever got sober, I am never speaking to her again. Do you know, this kind of a way. But when I started to get well, what helped us was that they went to Aware, and I believe that Aware in Ballinrobe was, I don't know whether they still are, the only group that takes family members in once a month and works through the whole mental health thing. Because my family had been following me to addiction centres and all that kind of stuff, and all that they were constantly being told is, Mom's a selfish bitch. Mom, you know, if she drinks again, you need to kick her out. That Mom has an addiction and it's a disease that's in her brain and she can't help doing it. So, like, they found that very conflicting. It was like, so if there's a disease in her brain and she can't help doing it, why the hell should we kick her out? You know, so they found all that very confusing. But then when they went to the mental health side, it was very different. They were told that mental health issues are problems, but they're fixable, and it was just much nicer for them. So I think forgiveness is more of a personal thing, and I think it would be like, what is it that you're trying to forgive them for? Is it forgive them, like, can you forgive them for missing your debs? You know, when you're getting dressed up to go to your debs. Can you forgive them for missing, you know, your 16th birthday party? You know, like important milestones in your life. Because I know for my eldest daughter, on her 16th birthday, I was as drunk as a skunk. And as far as I know, you know, all the air has been cleared. But something like that has got to bother you. And, you know, what's that saying as well about forgiveness? You know, if you're taking the road to revenge, you better dig 2 graves. Because it's kind of like, I suppose it would be kind of like, you know, separating that person. And knowing that, you know, sometimes, like, maybe she has to look at her mother and decide whether... Sorry, hang on a second there. What? He'll text you. They're leaving Clamart at 9 o'clock. Well, ring TJ. Sorry, my husband was to collect my son. So, the thing with it is to maybe look at the parent and say, like, what is it first that, why do you feel you need to forgive her? You know, is it that you still want a relationship with her or him? I think you said it was a mother, did you, or didn't you not? But,
no.
You know, oh no, you said parent, didn't you?
Parent, yeah.
So I suppose it would be to look at the relationship, like, is it the drinking? Is it, you know, is it stuff that happened outside of drinking? And how, you know, how big of a change would it be to your life if you were able to forgive? Like, would it improve the quality of her life being able to forgive, or should she just forget and move on? You know? And I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll speak to Louise again, because she's really good at this kind of stuff. And she talks to a lot of people who are adults now that grew up in an alcoholic home.
Maybe what I can do is get a member on, that particular member. Maybe I can get that member on to speak.
To have a wee chat with Louise, yeah.
Yeah, I know she's open to speaking to me about it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Yeah. Sorry I couldn't help much more, but you know,
no,
like,
it's kind of difficult when
it is, you know, because it's hard to look at it. But I think if there was a possibility of a good, healthy relationship, I would seriously look at letting it go. But I mean, if this was a father like this sexually abused her, or, you know, like it's you know, I wouldn't be saying, oh yes, just forgive him. Do you know what I mean? I'd say, God, run, is that what you get, you know? So yeah, it is a difficult one, but please God, Louise will be able to help you out with that one next week. Yeah.
Superb. There's just 2 more questions, and then I'm just going to stop the recording. Aaron, can you talk to Val? The first thing when I get to work is thinking of the night ahead and looking forward to drinking to forget. Not every night, but I'm using it more and more as sort of a blackout solution. Is this normal?
Well, it is normal to think that way because that's the way the media portray our lives. We see it on Coronation Street and EastEnders and all them shows, that alcohol is at the forefront of everything in our lives. I would wonder, like, what it is you need to forget. I'm just wondering, like, are you bored in your life? Is your job mundane and boring because you're even, like, on your way to work? Isn't you like your job isn't distracting you away from the thought of alcohol? But clearly you're managing your life. You know, you're holding down a job. You're not drinking every night. And, you know, you've become aware that there is an issue. So I'd say you would be an absolute perfect candidate for harm reduction. And you can jump on the HAMS website and even join up on the HAMS Facebook page, and you will get hundreds of other people who drink the exact same way, who all support each other. And you can get like free downloads because clearly you're wanting to do something about it, otherwise you wouldn't have asked the question. And it's bothering you on some level. So it's to find out what it is. And it's probably a variety of things. For one, it could be, you know, that you're bored in your job. Two, it's, you know, everywhere you look, every banner, every billboard, every petrol station you go into, alcohol is around you. Three, that it's very acceptable. People don't bat an eye when you go in and buy alcohol. And four, I'd say you're using it to sleep because you're going home to get blotto and then just pass out. So maybe you're having problems sleeping at night as well without it. But do you know what? I would say there's nothing wrong with you. You know, there's nothing wrong with you. You've just fallen into this cycle of behaviour that's acceptable. But clearly your morals and your values are higher than that, which is a good thing, because you're questioning your own behaviour. And you have, you know, you would have had better ambition for yourself, and you probably feel that you're worth more, which is very true. You're worth more than what you're doing to yourself. So,
I suppose looking at that question, it's probably something that, you know, so many people would actually think. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people I know there's certain days when I wouldn't be when I get to work, but you know, during the course of the day, you're thinking, oh, fuck, you know, I need something like, you know, this evening to relax. But I don't know, it doesn't state, like, is it, you know, binge drinking? It does say blackout, but I really don't know.
Yeah, I'd say this person cares about themselves and cares about the people that are surrounding him or her. And they sound, even just by that short note, they sound like a very well put together person. And I have a very good feeling that they'll do very well in harm reduction. You know, as opposed to, you know, 10 years ago you have been told how to stop drinking and things like that. But we have harm reduction there. It's already built when, you know, when you just follow the, you know, much like a Weight Watchers recipe. You kind of just follow the recipe, you know, to reduce your drinking. Make it safe anyway for a start. Don't worry about quitting or anything like that right now. Just make your drinking safe, and you'll find all that stuff on the harm reduction website. It's HAMS. I'll actually stick it up. I'll send you another private message, and you can pop it up on the page.
Okay, will do.
Just as a quick reminder. And
actually, the person that asked that, I will send you a PM with that information as well, in case you miss it on the page.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So, it sounds like they're a very well put together person, very responsible. Yeah. Yeah.
The last one that I'm going to ask on the recording is is a nice one actually. It's not my one. There's a lot of people, as I said, there was a lot of people that loved your Christmas meditation, and in line with that one, the question is, your Christmas mantra was "Feck that shite." Have you a new one for us?
For the future?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd say, well, I'll just stick to "Feck that shite" always, you know.
That's brilliant. But,
yeah, I'm thinking of doing, again, like I said, a Valentine's one, and you know, I don't know. Some people have said, "Oh, geez, you'll have to do a few more of them," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'll make them shorter, so then they're easier to listen to," you know.
Yeah, I actually played it. Like I told you that I so many people enjoyed it. I even played it, and I took it onto the actual. I took it out of the group page and onto YouTube and showed it to my boss, and she loved it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, keep doing them. They're great.
Yes,
great idea.
I'll make a few more so and send them on your way. You know, living with an asshole, feck that shite. But can't afford to eat this week, feck that shite.
Especially now with the election coming up, that you could probably use that quite a lot. There was. So I'm just going to stop the recording then, and then what I'll do is I'll open the floor. But I wanted to, because people, there were questions asked by people who couldn't make it tonight, and there was also some people who had issues dialing in. So I'm just going to hit stop. Do I want to stop? Yes, of course I want to stop.